All right, welcome to another Chicago Bears fan show. I'm James, coming to you today to talk to you about Phil Emery and his direction for the Chicago Bears, coming off of him firing Lovie Smith and coming into the preseason for 2013. What are we going to see here? He had a very monumental, I think, press conference on New Year's Day where he really laid out some critical issues and gave a lot of insight into what he thinks about the team and what he uses as a mindset as a general manager. So first thing that came to light for me is that he's a very analytical individual, and that's a really positive sign as a fan, I think, for us to see. He talked about using Stats Inc. and Pro Football Outsiders as means to objectively look and assess his own players and beyond what he sees on the field himself or even what other people who may be biased in the organization see in these players. And that's a really good trait to have. And he even mentioned Moneyball and the success that other types of professional sport leagues have had employing these kind of very analytical philosophies. And I think while there's not the kind of depth of data that there may be in other sports for NFL football, what there is an importance of value. And that's what it's about when it comes down to it. And when you have a salary cap system and you're managing players, you need to extract the most value above what you're paying for it in order to be a very successful team. And he mentioning these principles gives me a certain level of confidence I didn't necessarily have before. So it's good to see. The other real feel I got out of Phil Emery from a personality perspective after this press conference was that he is aggressive, yet very measured, very thorough, and balanced in the way he approaches things. Those are good traits to have as a football executive today in the NFL, I believe. So, as he goes forward and looks for the coach to become the new head coach of the Chicago Bears, what are the kind of traits that he's looking for? Well, first off, he wants somebody who has a firm handle on all sides of the football and on his coaching staff. You can tell that. He didn't really say he wanted an offensive type of coach or a defensive type of coach. He said he wanted somebody who really could, handle his coaching staff and brought a positive energy to that staff and a positive energy towards Halas Hall. And it didn't matter, what their particular background or mindset was. The other thing that he talked about in this individual he's looking for is he wants somebody who currently excels in their role, has excellence in what they're doing today. So it doesn't matter if it's a college head coach or, an assistant coordinator in the NFL today. He wants somebody who in their current role is doing a very good job and who he then sees being able to project to being a good head coach of the Chicago Bears. And I think that's good because ultimately what that means is he wants talent. He wants talented individuals around him. He wants the most talented individuals who can succeed long-term for this team. That's a very good thing. Finally, the other thing he talked about was he wanted somebody that had flexibility in how they use the existing player skill set they have. I think one of the reporters in this press conference asked him, you're looking for a 4-3 or a 3-4 type of defense next year and going forward, and and in the coach that he's bringing in. And he really said, that wasn't important to him. What was important was somebody who knew how to utilize the player personnel and be flexible with that. So I think that's very vital in today's game because good coaches on other teams are going to be able to, exploit your weaknesses if you have a scheme that's not working. Or the other thing is, as you move forward and look to acquire talent, sometimes you're not always going to be able to get talent that fits a particular scheme. Sometimes it's not going to be the best talent available. So sometimes you're going to get players who are going to work very well in certain schemes or certain play packages that you need to be able to run or utilize at different times to stop different players in different teams. So it's going to be critical that you have somebody who understands how to run all kinds of defenses, all kinds of offenses, and then obtain the coordinators that have those types of skill sets as well. So I think that Phil Emery gets today's version of the NFL, how it's evolved, and how he needs to have somebody who is intellectual enough and also has the passion and energy to put it forward and really communicate that to his coordinators. So I'm really positive about what Phil Emery's doing. If personally I was asked, what kind of coach do the Bears need? Having thought about it, offensive coach, defensive coach, I've read a few articles out there arguing for, I think offensive coach tends to be what's in vogue right now for the Bears, but I really agree with what Phil Emery's saying. I think we need somebody who is very high skilled, high talent at understanding the game of football from all facets, and can bring in the coordinators who are going to do the job right. And that's more important than anything else. It's not so important if you can run a 4-3 scheme. This team can advance beyond that. It can move on from its current cover 2 4-3 defense. It can move on from, its monopolizing pass plays to Brandon Marshall on the offensive side of the ball. It needs to move on from that. So I'm very confident in the direction that Phil Emery's taking right now, highly supportive of it, and if I was in his position, I'd probably be taking a very similar approach. Well, in my next videos, what we're going to look at are Bears personnel as we move into the offseason. Who should we keep? Who's going to be too expensive, perhaps, to re-sign? And salary cap issues the Bears are going to be facing this coming year. As well as maybe speculate on some players who we should possibly be going after in the free agent market. That'll be coming in future videos, so keep an eye out for them. And of course, bear down.